Let's see the steps to fill up the long-term capital gains on sale of equity shares or equity-oriented mutual funds, which are taxable as per 112A. In case you want to check whether the mutual fund you sold during the year is an equity-oriented mutual fund or not, one quick way to find out is by looking at the transaction summary. In case, while selling the mutual fund, a securities transaction tax has been charged, then in such a case, that mutual fund is an equity-oriented mutual fund. As because STT, that is the security transaction tax, is charged only on equity-oriented mutual funds. Further, in case you have long-term capital gains on these types of shares in mutual fund, but you do not have a business income, then you can file ITR-2. However, if you also have a business income along with these types of capital gains, you should file ITR-3. Now, in this video, we'll be discussing the mutual funds or equity shares that are purchased after the 31st of January 2018. For equity shares or equity-oriented mutual fund which is purchased before the 31st of January 2018, the taxability of such shares or mutual funds has been dealt with in a separate video. Check the comment section. The link to that video is available there. Now, for equity shares or mutual funds that are purchased after the 31st of June 2018, for them, the profits will be calculated in two parts. The first part is where the shares or the mutual funds have been sold before the 23rd of July, and the second part is where it has been sold on or after the 23rd of July 2024. Now, the reason why we have to calculate it separately is because of the changes in the tax rate from the 23rd of July. Since the tax rates have changed from the 23rd of July 2024, therefore the profits for the shares or mutual funds sold before will be calculated separately, and after the 23rd of July will be calculated separately. Now, the details that would be required to report profits for equity shares or equity-oriented mutual fund which have been sold before 23rd of July would be these. Let's try and understand this with the help of an example. We'll be needing the sales value of equity shares and the sales value of equity-oriented mutual funds which have been sold before the 23rd of July. Once these are calculated, we'll calculate the total sales value. Then we calculate the purchase price of equity shares and equity-oriented mutual funds. Again, we sum it up. And then we calculate the transaction charges on the contract notes or the transaction summary or the statement that is available with us. The same thing has to be done for the equity shares or the equity-oriented mutual fund that has been sold on or after the 23rd of July 2024. The same details would be required. Now, let's open the income tax return filing utility. Once you open the Excel-based offline utility, the first thing that you need to do is fill in the Part A of the general schedule, which is this one. It contains the personal details of the taxpayer, such as name, PAN number, contact details, bank details, as well as the option to choose from the old tax regime or the new tax regime. Once you fill in the Part A of the general schedule, you then need to move to the next schedule, which is Schedule 112A. Here it is. In this schedule, we'll be filling up the details of the long-term capital gain that arise from the sale of equity shares or equity-oriented mutual funds that are taxable as per Section 112A. Let's first fill up the details where the equity shares or the mutual funds have been purchased after the 31st of January 2018 but have been sold before the 23rd of July 2024. Now that we have filled up the details of the first part, let's move to the second part. That is where the equity shares or mutual funds have been purchased after the 31st of January 2018 and sold on or after the 23rd of July 2024. Now let's start filling up the second part of the details. Now, once you fill in these details, it automatically calculates the long-term capital gain as per 112A. So this is how you fill in the long-term capital gain details with respect to equity shares or mutual funds on which STT has been paid.